Have you ever looked up at the sky and felt small? Maybe you should. Because out there, beyond the veil of stars, lurks something colossal. Something so absurdly massive that it defies everything you believe is possible. A star so gigantic, it would swallow our sun like a speck of dust. A cosmic beast that burns with such fury, it bends the very fabric of physics. Today, you're going to meet the largest star ever discovered. But be warned, its power is not just unimaginable. It's terrifying. If you're drawn to the darkest, most mind-bending mysteries of the universe, this is your place. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications because here, science meets the unknown, and nothing will ever feel the same again. In today's video, we'll travel to the edge of deep space to confront a monster of gas, fire, and time. A star so massive it redefines what giant really means. Are you ready to feel the weight of the universe pressing down on you? Somewhere in the constellation of Scuti, over 9,500 light-years from Earth, there's something that shouldn't exist. A flaming body so enormous that its very presence seems to mock the known laws of physics. Its name is UY Scuti, and while it might sound fragile, almost delicate, it is anything but. It's a red hypergiant star, the largest ever recorded by humankind. To put it into perspective, if it were placed where our sun is, it would engulf Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and keep going past Jupiter, nearly reaching the orbit of Saturn. This isn't metaphor. This is astronomical fact. UY Scuti was first catalogued by German astronomers in 1860, but its true magnitude was only realized with the help of modern stellar measurement technologies. Still, there's a problem. It's so distant, so incredibly massive, and so shrouded in interstellar dust that even estimating its size is a challenge. And yet, the numbers are terrifying. It's estimated to be over 1,700 times the radius of our sun. That means its volume is more than 5 billion times greater than the sun. In fact, it's so vast that light would take over 7 hours to travel across its diameter, compared to just a few seconds for our sun. But there's something even more disturbing. UY Scuti is unstable. It pulses. It expands and contracts, as if it's breathing, as if it's alive. These pulsations are signs that the star is nearing the end of its life, and when that moment comes, the explosion will be violent enough to make a supernova look like a matchstick in a wildfire. So why does a star get this big? The answer lies in the delicate balance between gravity and radiation pressure. For most of a star's life, these forces are in a constant tug-of-war. Gravity pulls inward, trying to crush the star, while radiation pressure pushes outward, the result of nuclear fusion raging at its core. But in stars like UY Scuti, this dance becomes a game of extremes. They grow to the point of almost tearing themselves apart, and yet they continue to exist. But perhaps the most chilling fact isn't its size. It's that we barely knew it existed. Hidden deep in the sky among billions of stars, it stayed there, burning, growing, sleeping, unseen by the human eye. And that raises an unsettling question. How many other UY Scutis are hiding in the cosmos? How many cosmic titans drift in the dark, nameless, waiting? The death of a titan. What if UY Scuti exploded? Imagine the quiet hum of space, the black silence between the stars. Now picture that silence being shattered by an explosion so vast, so incomprehensibly violent, that it outshines an entire galaxy. This is not science fiction. This is the fate that awaits UY Scuti, because even giants fall. And when UY Scuti dies, it won't go quietly. Unlike smaller stars, which fade into white dwarfs, massive stars like UY Scuti die in a spectacle known as a supernova. But in this case, due to its sheer mass, UY Scuti might go beyond even that, possibly collapsing into a hypernova, an ultra-rare, ultra-powerful stellar explosion that's among the most energetic events in the universe. Let's break that down. A hypernova can release more energy in a few seconds than the sun will emit over its entire lifetime. The shockwaves would ripple through space-time itself. The star's core would collapse inward, forming either a neutron star or, more likely in this case, a black hole. But not just any black hole, a stellar mass monster born from the crushed heart of a fallen titan. What would that look like? To observers nearby, if any existed, it would be as if a second sun had suddenly been born, only to burn brighter than all the others combined, and then vanish. The burst of light would be followed by a rain of particles, radiation, and gravity waves that would echo through the galaxy. But let's ask the more terrifying question: what if UY Scuti exploded today? Could it affect us, even from 9,500 light-years away? The good news is, probably not in any direct or immediate way. That distance gives us a buffer zone, but probably isn't comforting when you realize how unpredictable the cosmos can be. A hypernova of this magnitude could emit gamma-ray bursts, jets of energy so intense they can sterilize entire star systems. If Earth were in the path of one, it could theoretically strip away our atmosphere, destroy our ozone layer, and trigger mass extinctions. Fortunately, current models suggest UY Scuti's rotational axis is not aimed at Earth, but that's assuming we understand its orientation fully, which we don't. Even without a gamma-ray burst, the radiation output would be felt. Not as heat, but as a background rise in cosmic rays. Satellites might detect it. Some high-altitude effects in our atmosphere could be measurable, but emotionally, psychologically, the effect might be far greater. The realization that a distant star just died and still managed to announce its death across the fabric of reality might shake our perception of cosmic safety. But there's something even stranger. The light from UY Scuti that we see today left the star around the time humans were first developing agriculture. So if it exploded now, we wouldn't even know for thousands of years. And if it exploded thousands of years ago, we might see that light tomorrow. That means in the cold logic of astrophysics, UY Scuti might already be gone. What we see in the sky could just be a ghost, the afterimage of a star that no longer exists. Think about that. A dead star, still shining in our sky, still being studied, still being measured, and yet gone. There's a brutal elegance in that. The cosmos is not obligated to update us in real time. It hides its cataclysms behind the speed of light. We are always living in its past, and when something like UY Scuti finally reveals its true fate, it will be a message from history. A cosmic postcard that says, I was here, I burned, I ended, and still, there's more. The remnants of UY Scuti's death would not be empty. The materials forged in that explosion, heavy elements like gold, uranium, and platinum, would be hurled across the galaxy. These are the elements that form planets, that build life, that become part of blood, bone, and breath. In other words, the death of a monster like UY Scuti might be the beginning of something else. Your smartphone, the ring on your finger, the iron in your blood, it was all once part of a star like UY Scuti. That's not poetry, it's astrophysics. We are built from the corpses of stars. And someday, maybe far in the future, another life form will rise from the ashes of UY Scuti and wonder what came before. So no, we don't need to be afraid of UY Scuti. Not in the physical sense, but we should stand in awe, in terror, in respect, because it reminds us of how fragile we are, how little we control, and how vast the universe truly is. The existential weight of UY Scuti. What stars say about us? What does a star like UY Scuti really mean to us? It's easy to see it as a curiosity, a scientific marvel, a record breaker in the galactic Olympics. But that's not what keeps us awake at night. What truly unsettles us is the existential reflection it forces upon us. When you confront something so vast, so ancient, so violently majestic, you're not really learning about the star, you're learning about yourself. Because UY Scuti doesn't care about you. It doesn't even know you exist. It was born before your species evolved. It will die without ever noticing you. And yet, here you are, watching this video, thinking about it, grappling with its scale. That's not astronomy. That's philosophy. That's the terrifying intimacy between consciousness and the cosmos. In a universe where stars like UY Scuti burn, rage, and collapse, what are we? Our entire history, every war, every love, every birth, every death, fits into a tiny blink of this star's life. We measure our time in decades. UY Scuti measures its existence in millions of years. We build cities, empires, religions, and all of it happens while this beast just pulses in the sky, indifferent, eternal by our standards, but still mortal in the grand dance of the universe. That's the cruel poetry of it. Even the giants fall. Even the gods of light die. And that thought, that even something so massive, so seemingly permanent will eventually vanish, forces a confrontation with our own transience. If UY Scuti, a star 1/700 times larger than the sun, can burn out and disappear, what hope do we have of permanence? But maybe that's the point. Maybe the universe is trying to tell us something through these colossal stars. Not in words, not in signals, but in scale. Maybe UY Scuti is a mirror, not reflecting who we are physically, but who we are spiritually. Fragile creatures standing at the edge of infinity, trying to make sense of it all. We look up and measure stars, but what we're really doing is measuring our own insignificance and deciding whether it paralyzes us or sets us free. Because here's a paradox. In the face of something so overwhelmingly vast, most people feel small. But those who truly understand it, they feel empowered. Not because they control the universe, they don't, but because they're aware of it. The universe might not notice us, but we notice it. We name the stars. We study their lives. We understand their deaths. And in doing so, we carve out a small rebellion against meaninglessness. UY Scuti will die, so will the Earth, so will you. But in this moment, right now, you're part of the only known species capable of contemplating a star's death across the void of time and space. That's not smallness. That's transcendence. Still, there's another layer, a darker one. What if UY Scuti isn't the largest? What if, in some forgotten corner of the galaxy, there's something even more monstrous? Larger, older, slower burning? What if what we call extreme is just average by cosmic standards, and we're only scratching the surface of what true magnitude looks like? And what if, and this is the terrifying part, stars like UY Scuti are nothing compared to what comes after? Because black holes are born from these giants. And black holes are not just dead stars, they're the graves of information, the event horizons of reality, where time slows, where laws collapse, where answers go to die. And UY Scuti is on that path. It burns now, it pulses, but one day, it will fall inward, collapse, disappear. It will leave behind either a void or a mystery. And for us, all we'll have is the echo, the ghost, the data, a brief spike in a telescope, and then silence. But maybe that's all we need. Because in that silence, in that collapse, in that vanishing light, we find our hunger for meaning. We are the children of stars. We are made of their remnants. And every time we look up, we are not just gazing at the heavens. We're staring back at our origin, and maybe even our destiny. UY Scuti is not just a giant. It's not just a dying star. It's a reminder that the universe is immense, uncaring, and yet stunningly beautiful. And somehow, impossibly, we are part of it. Timeless fire. How stars like UY Scuti rewrite our idea of time. To us, it's linear, rigid, always marching forward. Seconds become minutes, minutes become hours, days become lives, and then it's over. But UY Scuti laughs at our clocks. To a star like UY Scuti, human time is a joke, a blink, a stutter in the void. The light we see today left its surface 9,500 years ago, before Jesus, before pyramids, before writing, before we even had myths to explain the stars. Which means we've never seen UY Scuti as it is now. We are always looking into its past, chasing the shadow of a flame long gone. This isn't poetic exaggeration. It's physics. It's the speed of light, the ultimate messenger, and the ultimate delay. The universe as we know it is made of ghosts of the present, echoes from every direction. Even our own sun, just 8 light minutes away, is already history by the time we see it. But UY Scuti? It might already be dead. It might have gone supernova 1,000 years ago. We just don't know yet. The signal hasn't arrived, and this is where the darkness creeps in. Not the darkness of space, but of uncertainty. We like to think of science as cold and precise, but the truth is it's built on shadows and assumptions, on models, on extrapolation, and in the case of stars like UY Scuti, on trust. Trust that the light tells the whole story. But what if it doesn't? What if, at this very moment, UY Scuti is gone, replaced by a neutron star or a black hole? What if the majestic red hypergiant we point our telescopes at is nothing more than a tombstone made of photons? We don't know. We can't know, Micah, yet. And that's where the real power of stars lies. They reshape our concept of reality. Not just what we see, but when we see. The universe is a movie on an endless delay, and stars like UY Scuti are the main characters we think we understand, but they may have already walked off the stage. Think about what that does to meaning, to memory, to presence. Everything you've ever known happens in the now, but everything you see in the sky is already over. UY Scuti shows us that time is not an arrow. It's a map of delays, a canvas of ancient fires, each one screaming from the past, hoping to be heard before they fade. And here we are, catching those final whispers. Does that make us foolish? Or chosen? Or maybe just awake? Cosmic secrets. What UY Scuti might be hiding from us. Now let's get darker. We assume we know UY Scuti. We have data, mass estimates, radius calculations, spectral analysis. We know it's big, bloated, red. But every layer we peel back reveals a truth more unnerving than the last. UY Scuti is not what we think. For starters, we don't even know exactly how big it is. Some models put it at 1,800 times the sun's radius. Others suggest it might be less. That's not just a measurement issue. It's a reminder that even our best tools have limits. We are trying to weigh fire, to measure chaos. And stars, especially hypergiants, are unstable by nature. They pulse, they shift, they lose mass, they flare. In other words, they lie. UY Scuti might be dying faster than we expect. It might be on the edge of collapse right now, or it might stabilize and live for another 1,000,000 years. The point is, we don't know. And that ignorance, that inability to predict or control, is deeply unsettling. But here's the real twist. What happens inside UY Scuti is a cosmic secret, locked behind 9,500 light-years of distance and layers of plasma so dense, light itself struggles to escape. Deep within, unimaginable pressures fuse atoms into heavier elements. It is a factory of matter, a crucible of death and creation. And as it nears the end of its life, those internal processes go wild. Unstable reactions, core collapses, magnetic storms the size of continents. And maybe, just maybe, things we don't even have names for. Because that's the final terror. We might not know everything stars can do. Some physicists speculate about strange forms of matter that could form inside dying giants. Quark-gluon plasmas, exotic particles, even micro-black holes. The laws of physics start to blur under those conditions, and UY Scuti is the perfect test lab. Except we can't reach it. We can only wait, and watch, and guess. That's the horror of cosmic observation. You see something monstrous. You measure its pulse. You think you understand it. And then it vanishes, or changes, or explodes. And you realize you never knew it at all. UY Scuti is a mystery disguised as a beacon, a dying fire wrapped in layers of cosmic misinformation. And yet we are drawn to it. Not because we expect answers, but because in its mystery we feel something ancient awaken inside us. Curiosity, dread, wonder. The same feelings our ancestors must have had staring at the night sky, naming constellations, fearing gods of thunder and fire. The tools have changed, the language has evolved, but the emotion remains the same. We look at UY Scuti, and we feel small, but we also feel human. A message from the edge of time. So now you know. There's a star out there, 9,500 light-years away, that dwarfs everything we thought was possible. It burns with a light we may never truly understand. It exists in the past. It may already be dead. And yet, we still feel its presence. Because that's the irony of the cosmos. The most distant things can still shape us, still haunt us, still whisper truths that shatter the illusion of control we cling to. UY Scuti is not just a giant. It is a reminder that we live in the unknown, suspended between what we see and what we can never reach. That the universe isn't just vast, it's indifferent. It doesn't care what we believe. It simply is. And in that cold silence, we project our questions, our fears, our dreams. We stare at this monstrous red fireball and we ask, what am I compared to that? And the answer is both humbling and empowering. You are made of the same elements. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, all forged in the belly of stars like UY Scuti. You are cosmic debris, organized by time and chance into something that can wonder, something that can observe, something that can ask why. And maybe that's the real message of UY Scuti. Not fear, not awe, but purpose. The purpose of being small and still daring to understand, of being fragile and still reaching out, of being temporary and still asking questions that no one may ever answer. So when you look up tonight, remember, the stars you see are not lights. They are stories. Ancient fires burning their final chapters, some already over, some yet to begin. And somewhere out there, UY Scuti waits, or its ghost does, a monstrous relic of time, size, and mystery, forever burning in the background of the universe and in the front of our minds. Because the cosmos isn't just out there. It's in here, in our thoughts, our questions, our hunger to know more. Now it's your turn.